Yo, Sanjay Uchiha here, people. Welcome back to the channel to my Dragon Ball Super episode 128 review. Episode title with Noble Pride. To the end, Vegeta falls. Don't quote me on that one. Welcome back to the channel, as I said. Definitely. My laptop needs to charge. There we go. Alright, so honestly, getting right into it, of course, as per usual, be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get notifications, join the notification squad, or whatever these young people say these days. But yeah, so getting right into it, honestly, this episode, I definitely liked it. I'm not gonna lie. I liked the episode, and obviously, if you've watched the episode, or if you've watched the preview, you already know this episode mainly centers around Vegeta essentially making his last stand in the tournament of power as he squares off against Jiren, and seemingly falling the episode seemingly falling into the quote-unquote typical format of Goku standing up to the challenge to take on the villain in the end after Vegeta fails. So yeah, essentially that. But of course, by the end of it, we're down to Goku versus Jiren in the final 2 minutes by the end of this episode. Now, let's kind of get into it and dissect this episode bit by bit. I definitely felt it was better than last week's episode in terms of writing, but it still had its problems. Not as... I dare say not as bad as last week, but let's see. So, first thing I want to talk about is the pacing of the episode. It was definitely good. For the fact that we're down to these set of characters and the fact that we're sending Vegeta off for this episode, dedicating one half to Vegeta essentially and then the next half to Goku, I thought was a good move. Definitely alright in terms of the pacing. Of course, we still have the previews that they've started since episode 114 if I'm not mistaken, or 113. The previews, the opening and the recap, which I still think, I mean, it's not as bad as that episode with Toppo. After like the preview, the opening, the recap, they actually played another scene from the previous episode. After that, it's not as bad, but looking at it, the preview does take up a bit of time, which could probably be used for something else. But whatever. But still, pacing was good. Honestly, I thought the strongest aspect of this episode was definitely the characterization for Vegeta. It's just a reminder of how far Vegeta has come as a character. Just seeing him think about his family, well, and Kaba. I know some people are gonna have a problem with him thinking about Kaba because honestly, in the grand scheme of things, Kaba is not someone he's really interacted with for a long period of time. Honestly, if you put the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, that one Slice of Life episode, and this, I don't think Vegeta and Kaba had interactions for like more than a day or two, really and truly. But I think what really sets Vegeta's characterization and how it was portrayed on screen in this episode to really uplift this episode is the fact that his pride, and even in Kaba's case, yeah, he wants to honor his promise. It's part of his pride and all of that. But I think I may be going off on a bit of a stretch here, but just the fact that Saiyans, he has this connection to the Saiyan race. People might say, okay, there's a next planet of Saiyans, but really, actually, Vegeta doesn't really give a shit because in terms of his own Saiyan homeworld, he's kind of moved past that now. But I think it's just that Saiyan connection and his pride and trying to stick to what he values and considers important, really and truly. But more so than Kaba, seeing him think about his family is always a reminder Vegeta has come a long way in terms of Dragon Ball ever since he was introduced in Dragon Ball Z, really and truly. And even seeing him, the dialogue, mentioning to Jiren that he wouldn't understand when he has somebody to protect. Honestly, good. It's not development, just a reminder of how far Vegeta has come. And I thought that was actually the strongest part of the episode writing wise. In comparison I think this was like my first negative for the episode, in that Jiren's character, in terms of how it's characterized, how it's portrayed on screen, it is so cliche, you know. And honestly, I know people have said it before, but I'm gonna say now. They're basically painting Jiren as Toguro from from Yu Yu Hakusho, really and truly. I'm not gonna lie. That's what it basically is. And it's just not as good, because I can definitely get behind Togoro's backstory and how he was executed in Yu Yu Hakusho, but it's so cliche and watered down here for Jiren that I guess it's not as a bad thing, but it's just cliche, and it just doesn't feel like there's enough for us to get invested in Jiren as a character, really and truly. And I know that's due to, this thing being rushed to its end, but um the choreography for the episode was alright for the most part. It kinda get repetitive towards the only problem I had was the whole part when, Jiren was punching Goku, and it kind of repeated for a few times. That's really and truly. But for the most part, the choreography was alright. Nothing too world-shatteringly good, though. But, for the most part, of course, by the end of this, we get back Ultra Instinct. So there's that. Um, Now, it's at this point I get into most of the negatives, really and truly. So, honestly, if this was a case where we weren't in a tournament setting that's bounded by time and we didn't have extra numbers, when you compare Universe 7 against 11, I don't think this would have been a problem. But the fact that Jiren goes up against Vegeta, and obviously while it's evident he's holding back against Vegeta, due to the time constraints here, it makes no logical sense for Jiren to take that long to ring out Vegeta, considering that he's in his base form. That was like a major problem, and I said it in my review last week and the video I did in the week, that the writers have essentially written themselves into a corner, essentially, where Jiren has become so much stronger than these guys, and these guys are getting low on stamina and getting weaker, that it makes no sense why Jiren isn't instantly ringing them out. But the thing is, they're in a corner, because if they do that, they wouldn't necessarily have an episode at the end of the day. But even though that's the case, it's still no excuse. It's still, they had time to actually, probably set things up a bit better, and that's not the case. So the episode suffers because of it at the end of the day. This is not necessarily a rant, but I mean, whatever. Anyway, the next problem that made no sense is the fact that the established Vegeta has no energy from the start, and to the point that he can't even transform into a regular Super Saiyan, just to show you. And I'm supposed to believe he's able to pull off... Okay, pulling out the Final Flash was one thing. Fine, whatever. But then you're going to tell me he's going to give Goku some energy, after taking a little beating from Jiren as well. I know what they're going for, but grand scheme of things, that makes no sense, honestly. And the whole Jiren versus the base Saiyan, in this case Goku, is another issue. It was the same problem I had with, I believe it was episode 123, when Jiren powered up a bit and attacked Goku, and Goku mentioned that it was the strongest attack he got hit with ever in his life, and he withstood that in his base form, which made no sense. So there was that as well. So the same problems I had with Vegeta is the same problems I'm having with Goku, honestly. Goku powers up to blue. Of course, we had some useless dialogue by Tien that blue stood no chance. Where have you been all this tournament, Tien, really? It's insane. So, as I said, it all goes back to the fact that the writers have essentially written themselves into a corner where this whole situation is concerned. And honestly, with Goku powering up to Ultra Instinct and actually being able to damage Jiren now, what I'll say about that, because I know some people are gonna probably ask why didn't Ultra Instinct damage Jiren before, and now after Jiren powers up to is, well, I would say is quote unquote full power, why is Goku able to damage him now? One reason, yes, Goku is mastering Ultra Instinct, which is a next kettle of fish to address. But what I'll say about it, and I'll probably put it in the video title, it's a repeat of the situation with KEFLA, in that how we got to this point in terms of the characters reaching this level of strength was executed like shits, but it is what it is now, and scaling wise, that's it. The way to put it is, if Goku was a 1 before, right? Let's do a bit of power scaling. If Goku was a 1 before, and in terms of writing and execution, it's basically shit how he gets from a 1 to a 50 or like 1,000 in terms of power level in his base. I think the relevant multipliers now, obviously he's going to be much stronger and basically damage Jiren now. That's essentially what I'm saying, because obviously Goku and Vegeta have gotten like some ridiculous Zenkai boost, honestly, on some Goku Black levels, which is a next problem, because that really speaks to the consistency of the writing for this show. Because if Goku and Vegeta have been getting these ridiculous Zenkai boosts in this tournament over short periods of time, why wasn't that the case in the Goku Black arc? It's like, you get what I'm saying? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. In terms of consistency, it doesn't make any sense. But that is the case. Goku has gotten like some ridiculous Zenkai boosts. That's evident for the fact that Goku's been fighting Jiren in blue, in some cases even without Kaioken times 20. But it is what it is. Bad writing, I'd say, in terms of how it showcased how he got to that strength level where he's there now. I think Ultra Instinct's multiplier, it makes sense why he's able to actually damage Jiren. It's probably the most pain, well, the only pain I've seen Jiren in since this tournament. So there's that. But yeah, all in all, I think the episode fizzles out to an alright. Or at best. Like, it's really and truly just that. Honestly, like, I enjoy the episode, but honestly, like, if you look at the writing objectively speaking, you can put this episode, at least where writing alone is concerned, strictly from that viewpoint, you can't put it at an amazing. But I guess if all things considered in terms of characterization, pacing, like animation and art, if you're really viewing or grading the episode on all fronts like that, I guess it does pan out to be an alright, probably an okay plus, alright plus. But yeah, that's all I have for this one. And even speaking about the animation art, I thought it was alright for this episode. No jarring problems really in terms of that. The character models seemed alright, the animation was alright, I guess. I'm not an animation expert, but but yeah, but that's all I have for this one. Let me know what you thought about the episode. I'm definitely looking forward to next week, obviously, because I know, as I said, the writers are in a corner, and probably some people will agree that the only thing to really look forward to at this point is the fight. Really. So, anyways, Sanju Uchiha, rate, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this review. Leave your comments, of course, and I'll see you in the next one.